Thank you once again for joining me on my YouTube channel. In my last video we talked about the history of Jamaica part 2, from the British invasion, the English invasion I should say, to the Emancipation Declaration 1808 and the following full freedom of all slaves within Jamaica in 1838. Now, before we go on, I'd like to thank all my friends and family for subscribing, and if you're seeing me for the first time, please hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more videos on the history of the Caribbean and Latin America. The immediate post-slavery days was very difficult for the ex-slaves. Though most of the English planters had left the island and new owners were running the plantation, the old system still remained. The will of the masses was not deemed important, hence ignored, and to add fuel to the already burning flame, the American Civil War resulted in supplies being cut off from the island, and a severe drought was in progress, and most crops were ruined. Now, the next chapter of the history of Jamaica is about the Morant Bay Uprising and Jamaica's first two national heroes, Paul Bogle and George William Gordon. Paul Bogle was a Baptist deacon and activist. He was a leader of the 1865 Morant Bay protesters who marched for justice and fair treatment for all the people in Jamaica. After leading the Morant Bay Rebellion, Bogle was captured by government troops, tried, convicted, and subsequently hanged under martial law on October the 24th, 1865 in the Morant Bay courthouse. Supposedly, there's another story that he was actually hunted down, tried the very place that they caught him, and hanged the same day. Those who know of Third World, 96 Degrees in the Shade, actually is a story of the capture of Paul Bogle. Bogle had become a friend of wealthy landowner and fellow Baptist George William Gordon, a biracial man who served in the assembly as one of the two representatives from St. Thomas. Gordon was instrumental in Bogle being appointed deacon of Stony Gut Baptist Church in 1864. Conditions were hard for black peasants due to social discrimination, flooding, crop failure, and aforementioned American Civil War. The required payment of poll taxes prevented most of them from voting. In 1865, Gordon criticised the British governor, Edward John Eyre, for sanctioning everything done by the higher classes to the oppression of the Negroes. Bogle concentrated on improving the conditions of the poor as awareness of social injustice and people's grievances grew. Bogle led a group of small farmers 45 miles to the capital, Spanish Town, hoping to meet with the Governor Eyre to discuss their issues, but they were denied an audience, and the people of Stony Gut lost confidence and trust in the government, and Bogle supporters grew in numbers in the parish. On October 1865, Bogle and some supporters attended a trial for two men in Stony Gut. A black man was convicted and sentenced to prison on charges of trespassing on a long-abandoned plantation. One member of Bogle's group protested in court over the case, but was immediately arrested, angering the crowd further. He was rescued moments later when Bogle and his men took to the market square and retaliated. The police were severely beaten and forced to retreat. Monday, October the 9th, 1865, warrants were issued against Bogle and a number of others for riot and assault. The police arrived in Stony Gut to arrest Bogle, but met with stiff resistance from the residents. They fought the police, forcing them to retreat to Morant Bay. A few days later, on October 11, 1865, there was a vestry meeting in the courthouse. That day, Bogle led hundreds of followers, armed with sticks, machetes, on a protest march to the courthouse. The authorities had mustered a volunteer militia who fired on the protesters after stones were thrown, killing 7 men. The protesters set fire to the courthouse subsequently and nearby buildings. When the officials tried to leave, several were killed by the angry mob outside. A total of 25 on both sides died that day. The Black peasant rose up and took control of the parish for 2 days. The governor quickly retaliated, declaring martial law and ordering troops to capture the rebels and suppress the rebellion. The troops destroyed Stony Gut, Bogle's chapel, killing more than 400 persons outright across the parish, including women and children. They arrested more than 300 persons, including Bogle. He was tried under martial law, quickly executed, as were many others. Others, including women, were punished by flogging or by long prison sentences. The governor had a representative, George William Gordon, arrested in Kingston, where there was no martial law, and brought back to Morant Bay to be tried under martial law. Gordon was convicted on conspiracy and hanged on October the 23rd. Back in Britain, there was a public outcry and increased opposition from Liberals against Irie's handling of the situation, with accusation against him of murder. Now, his supporters praised the governor for acting quickly in a crisis to protest a potential rebellion. By the end of 1865, the government Irie case had become the subject of widespread national debate. In January 1866, a royal commission was sent to investigate the events. Governor Irie was suspended and recalled to England, eventually dismissed. The British government changed the governing of Jamaica. The House Assembly resigned its charter and Jamaica was made a crown colony, governed directly from England. Irie controversy turned into a long and increasing public issue, dividing well-known figures of the day. It may have contributed to the fall of the government. In 1866, John Stuart Mill set up and chaired the Jamaica Committee to examine the atrocities committed in Jamaica in the course of ending the rebellion. Thomas Carlyle set up a rival committee to defend Irie and his supporters, including John Ruskin, Charles Kingsley, Charles Dickens, and Alfred Lord Tennyson. The Morant Bay Rebellion turned out to be one of the defining points in Jamaica's struggle for political and economical enhancement. Bogle's demonstration ultimately achieved its objective and paved the way for new attitudes. In 1969, Paul Bogle was named a national hero along with George William Gordon, Marcus Garvey, Sir Alexander Bustamante, and Norman Washington Manley, also Nanny of the Maroons. After the death of Paul Bogle and George William Gordon, education, health and social services were greatly improved. A proper island-wide savings system was organised. Roads, bridges and railways were built and cable communications with Europe established. The island's capital was moved from Spanish Town to Kingston. And there I will end it in part 3 of the history of Jamaica. In the next video, we'll go on from 1930 to modern day Jamaica. And so I'd like to thank you for joining me once again. If you like what you've heard, like to hear more, please hit the subscribe button. I'll see you anon.